Julia, thank you for making the time today.
Oh, I'm happy to do it.
So, talk us through kind of your experience in childhood education over the years.
Oh, well, it's been quite lengthy and a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot. It started out with being a school teacher, um, which was great, fourth and fifth grade. And I taught in Evanston, Illinois, in a school that had a lot of diversity. And it was the early 80s, so I learned a huge amount about, under-resourced areas and about a community really trying to get it to work so that they could keep kids in a situation where they felt part of the community. So that was a really interesting experience. And then the next job I had was on the North Shore of Chicago, in the suburbs. And it was really interesting because there I was in a school that had incredible resources, but parents that were hesitant to take advantage of those resources just because that they didn't want extra support for their children or extra tutoring or any of those things available to them, because at that point people weren't really accepting that.
Yeah.
So that was my job to get them on board with that. And then from that point, I went on to have children for. We started a co-op nursery school in Evanston, which was really interesting with a lot of moms, so kids could have early education. And then from there we went on to moving abroad and having kids at the America School, which was a totally different experience, and working in an international way. And then we started, being part of all the kids' activities here in Boston, where I was on boards for different schools, PTAs, all those things that one does, becomes a trustee. And then in 2010, we started the One Step Forward Education Foundation, which then brings me to this point. So it's been a really interesting ride along the way.
Well, at least in my experience on the Vestigo journey, which has been a very joyous journey,
Well, good.
We've been very strategically placed here in Cambridge, near to the best universities in the world. We spend a lot of time on Harvard's campus. We spend a lot of time on MIT's campus. We spend a lot of time thinking about AI. We spend a lot of time interacting with the talent factories on campus, and kind of not necessarily in the background, but I spend a lot more time with one half of Casady than the other. But I've always been aware of work that you've been doing involved with MIT, involved in education. And I think, Mark was chatting to me the other day about this, which I think makes this a nice conversation, is, as AI is having this moment, you've been focused on kind of bringing your educational experience together with AI and trying to kind of create sort of teaching leverage for a broader community. So, that culminated, I believe, most recently with the kind of Day in AI event. So maybe you could talk through that.
Sure. Well, just to give you a little background on my relationship here with MIT, when we did start the foundation, what we wanted One Step Forward Education Foundation to do was to have a global effect. And in order to do that, you need to partner with someone that has resources around the world. And it was interesting as I looked at those things at different organizations, I kept coming back to MIT. And we started out with transformative teachers. That was our first endeavor. And then we went to online learning, which was our second endeavor, which then online learning led to this AI program. And that was really exciting to see because, as we know, AI is here. It's going to stay. It's going to be a part of our fabric. But as educators, especially with young children, but with any age, I think we have to learn about what the rules need to be. And I'm not sure that you can formulate strict rules, but I think what you can do is get ahead of it. Okay. So you can anticipate what's going to happen. And to have it be something that, we're going to make mistakes along the way, but we're also going to hopefully take from the experiences we have and say, look, this is a great program. This is how we need to do it for pre-K through, let's say, second grade. And then this is what, third grade through seventh grade should have. And look at what safeguards we need to create, but also how much we can enrich their environment in so many different levels from a very early age. So it becomes natural and it becomes part of something that, hopefully makes the world a better place.
Can you talk about some of the things that you are anticipating?
Well, I think as we look at AI, just in everyday use that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works really well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work the way they want, and sometimes people abuse it. And
Yeah.
so, we have great creative minds, and I don't know if you were this way, but I was naturally curious, as was Mark, and we would stretch the boundaries when one is in school.
Yeah.
And so, you can just see kids using it in a lot of creative ways that are great. We don't want to take away the creativity. We just want to channel it in an appropriate direction.
Yes.
And I think that you have to look at each age group and figure out what that challenge is going to be. And the kids are going to surprise us along the way. As much as we plan things, we have to take our cues from them. So, you can see them using it in a negative way, maybe, not facilitating the way they need to learn, taking shortcuts. Which would be great, but there's certain skills that you do have to attain, whether it's multiplication tables or it's learning different facts along the way. So I think that's what we've got to look for, and then also how they use it towards other people, especially their peer groups, because as we know, empathy is important. And that's what we try to do with it, which we still do to this day with transformative teachers, is make empathy part of the classroom. And so I think that's what's really interesting for me, is combining AI and the thought of empathy and how we be thoughtful about using it. And people think before they act. Obviously, that doesn't happen a lot, but hopefully more, because we're being proactive about it.
Well, I had plenty of deficiencies as a school child over the years, but a lack of curiosity or boundary stretching, to use a polite phrase, certainly were never criticisms I received. Could you provide maybe some more examples, like on some of the hands-on activities, maybe some of the curriculum models that were part of Day of AI?
Oh, well, I think as you saw in the outline, which they did a great job, is the kids had hands-on learning, where they would have, whether it was computer programs or activities at a younger age, where they worked with, building a model for a science project, or they were looking for words and relationships and those types of things. And then as you go into high school, you will see that they were doing a lot with AP courses, and also with in terms of looking at history and trends and finding out how much more information they could get at their fingertips. And that cuts a lot of steps, and you can have a lot more information. So I think that probably was what I would consider the key thread throughout the whole day in IA.
And are there, when you're thinking about measuring success for this event, I mean, how do you think about measuring that? And how do you think about kind of taking that learning and maybe applying it to the next one, or what you're kind of expecting going forward?
Well, I think what was really encouraging about this one is we have representatives from, whether they're teachers or from being principals or different educational systems from all 50 states. So that's a really great way to start. And then from a global effect, we had a huge representation across the international scene, which was great. I believe we had 50 countries that were represented, and Australia, was for our first endeavors. And then there was another program that was going on in Australia at the same time, in partnership with that. And that's what's really great about MIT. With the other programs I've done, we do partner with different parts of the world. It may be, all different schools. It could be in Uruguay. It could be in Europe. It could be, in Asia someplace. It just depends. Singapore, Hong Kong, all those places. And you mirror what you're doing. And so what we want to be able to do is to have that continue to grow.
To the extent to which you would like the community of viewers to be involved, how can people get involved in this? How can they learn more? Is there an ask for the millions of people who will watch this?
Well, I think the best thing to do is to start educating yourself about it. And the best way to do that is if you simply go on the MIT site. Perhaps you can post that shows the day in AI, so that people can read about it and learn about it. Because I think they'd be surprised what's already happening in the school systems. And if you don't have kids and you're not directly involved with it, you may not be aware.
Mhm.
So I think that would be the best place to start.
Tremendous. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing. And I mean, as this kind of AI wave continues to evolve and change the way we do everything, obviously education at the earliest level is going to be more and more important on shaping that future. So, I think if you'll permit me, we're going to have to do this again before too long.
Oh, sure, I'm happy to.
Perfect.
Not a problem at all.
Thanks for the time, Julia.
Oh, no problem. Thanks.